Hello everyone. Today we're starting a new month, Nissan. So we're going to start the daily Tanya Shiur of Aleph Nissan Tafshin Pei Dalet. So just to recap what we've been going through. So yesterday we spoke about the world of Atzilus, and we spoke about specifically the service of the tzaddikim, the avodah of the tzaddikim in Olam Atzilus. So, like we said, Olam Atzilus is the world in which God's will is completely within itself. It's completely manifest within itself. There's nothing outside of it. And this is juxtaposed to the worlds of Bria and Yetzira. So in the world of Bria, like we said, the Avodah is one of awakening the natural and sort of ingrained love that we have for Hashem, that is natural to us as Jews, as sons of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. And this is sort of a lower level. A higher level than that is a love that is born of contemplation, understanding Hashem as the greatest good, understanding Hashem's greatness. And through meditation and contemplation of Hashem's greatness, we can therefore come to feelings of love, feelings of awe, and so on. And so this is sort of difficult enough to picture. How does a mere thought, a mere contemplation, a mere act of meditation cause an emotional reaction of the kind he's describing? Yesterday he went even further, and he said there's a kind of avodah, kind of service that belongs to Olam Atzilus, which is even higher, which is one of complete bittul. And again, the word bittul is usually translated as annihilation or nullification, self-nullification, something like that. And that is one aspect of it. But again, in our learning, I prefer to sort of focus on the aspect of it which, in my mind, is more central, which is devotion. Bittul, seeing bittul as complete and total devotion up to the point of self-nullification. And it's really, it's very, if it was hard to picture the last, what we spoke about before, complete devotion to God. We see things that claim to be a result of complete devotion to God, especially in these troubled times. We see that in Islam, supposedly through devotion to God, people bring themselves to suicide. And this is there seems to be something off about that, and it certainly doesn't seem to be the kind of devotion we're talking about here. We're not talking about somebody expecting any sort of reward in the afterlife or reward for their family in this world, but we're talking about a complete self-devotion to the point where the question of whether you're alive or not is actually not important, or at least whether or not you're alive in the physical senses is not really important, as long as you're as long as you're doing Hashem's will. And it just so happens to be that in order to properly do Hashem's will, it's usually better to be alive. So it's a kind of real. It's a self-sacrifice in the realist, in the most real sense. It's not a mere sacrifice of one's life. It's the sacrifice of oneself, and the complete giving of oneself over to Hashem. And if you've ever seen this or experienced this, then you're very lucky. This is not something that is common, I don't think. And we might get glimpses of it at some point in our lives. And that's actually what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about times in your life, times in your day even, when you can get glimpses of this. So here we go. אך מי ששורש נשמתו קטן מאכיל עבודת המזו, להיבטל ולהיכלל באורו יתברך. So anybody who his soul is, the way he phrases it, the direct translation would be, the root of his soul is too small or is too narrow. And what this sort of means is that one's sort of capacity for, one's force of life, one's motivational force, can't handle this kind of complete devotion all the time, right? This complete devotion to just become completely united to God's will, right? In a stable and steady fashion. Only at certain times, certain specific times, shehem et ratzon, which are shehem et ratzon lemala, right? Which are auspicious times for it. And he gives an example. And like in the prayer of Shmona Esrei, right, which is the standing prayer, Shehi Batzilut, which in the way that Kabbalists read the prayer, davening in the morning, the evening, and the afternoon. So there are 3 prayers, and these are the different sections of the prayer correspond to different worlds, and our soul, so to speak, rises through these worlds as the prayer progresses in a sort of rising and then falling motion. And the highest point, the apex, is in Shmona Esrei, the standing prayer. And he's saying the apex of the apex, and the time when you're in the world of Atzilus, the highest world, even within Shmona Esrei, is in the points at which we bow. Because every bow is, in a sense, a kind of Atzilus. Bowing here in the sense of sort of lowering oneself before Hashem. So you have this sort of situation in which you're standing and you're still, right, which is very important, because being still is very important when you're in the world of Atzilus, because in the world of Atzilus, in a sense, everything is still. Everything is completely within itself, completely self-manifest. And when you're standing, you're sort of replicating that. But when you bow, even more so, you're showing that you are completely beholden to God's will. You are laying yourself down before God and sort of asking to be a vessel for His will. I mean, that's what bowing is. And then he gives a source, Pri Etz Chaim and Kabbalah Shabbos. Ki hi inyan bitul be'oro yitbarach, because the bowing is the devotion. Because bowing symbolizes devotion to His will. Liot chashiv kamei kelo mamash, to be before Him, to be considered as nothing. Azai gam ken ikar kviyut nishmato hi be'olam habriya. And he's saying even then, the sort of main portion of your soul is still in Bria. Rak liprakim be'et ratzon, but only it's in certain auspicious times, ta'ale nishmato la'atzilut. His soul can rise up to Atzilus and be completely devoted to Hashem. Bivchinat ma'im nukvin kayadua li'odeichen. And here he sort of brings in some Kabbalistic terminology that we can get into another time. So that's it for today. Thank you very much for following along, and I'll see you tomorrow.